Well, good morning all. Didn't get too far last night. Mainly because, it was getting a bit late and I needed to do a little more panel beating in a few places. Had a few high spots, like, just sort of little round knob bits sticking up, had to be knocked down a bit. Yeah, so I pulled it up. Just going to make another video, just in case there was a little bit of confusion on the last one as to what I'm actually doing. Okay, I do this sort of stuff in stages. Like, right now what I'm trying to do is get the shape right, get my lines right, which is why I'm using a 40 grade paper. If I was trying to finish it off, I wouldn't be using a 40 grade paper. Okay, I'd be, using an 80, and I'll go up to an 80, that's the next stage. But so, yeah, as I said, I'm not trying to get it smooth, I'm not trying to get it ready for paint. I'm getting the shape right, I'm getting my lines right. And yeah, this line here is proving difficult. I actually had to draw the line in it. Still a bit low here actually. Need to bring the line up a little bit just here. But when you're up close rubbing it, it's sort of difficult to see. Like with lines like this, body lines, it's difficult to see whether you got it right. You got to, as I said, you got to draw it, stand back, take a look. Is it meeting and ending in the right place? Does it have the right curve? And then you get to, is the profile straight this way? See, obviously it's not. Yeah, that's high there. It's high there, and we got metal here. Oh no, ball jot's out. Okay, yeah, I can take that down. So, yeah. See, when you're standing back here, you can't see that this spot's high. You can see in there what looks to be low. And yes, there is still low bits in there, but like I can't rub out those indentations because the outer part is pretty good. But it's high here, I've got to rub off there. But yeah, that's sort of one thing with lines like that. Draw them out so you can see them, And sometimes it changes, and you rub the line off, you've got to keep putting the line back on, etc., etc. Using a marker pen like this, like I'll be putting over this again, but yeah, if I was getting up to the finished stage, yes, I should be using a pencil. I just grab the marker, it was easy. But yeah, that'll, if I was going to primer straight over that, that'll bleed through the primer and it'll bleed through the paint as well. So yeah, just be wary of using marking pens. So as I said, when you getting to that point, yeah, use a pencil. But yeah, as I said, when I've got it all the right shape, got all my lines right, where I'm happy with it, well, at that point, well, first thing I'll do, you gotta have compressed air. You gotta blow your dust off. When you're puttying, when you're rubbing it and putting more putty on it, if you don't get all the dust off, the putty's not going to stick. There'll be dust underneath the putty. You've got to get it all off. And, like when I get to this next stage, the next stage will be smoothing it. Once I've got it the right shape, well, then I'll be getting me putty and I'll be just wiping it very thin, putting a lot of pressure on the applicator and filling in all these scratches from the 40 grade. Pinholes, there's lots of them. Lots of pinholes, they're all got to be filled in. And generally, I said, as well as blowing it out with air, I give it a wipe over with, acestone's about the best thing, but I don't actually have any at the moment. But metho thinners, and make sure your rag's clean, no grease on it. And so as well as blowing it, wash it down before you put a final skim coat over it. Especially with skim coats, because what you're doing is trying to fill all these holes. So if you've got any dust residue or anything in those holes, it's going to go over the top, and when you rub it, it'll fall out and the hole will reappear. So make sure you get it all. Here's another point I want to make. Up here, now this is a bit heavier than what I would like it to be. This is probably getting close to 10 mil thick here. Oh, maybe not 10. Probably more 6, 8 mil, but it's still sort of more than I would have liked to put on it. But I said I'd already puttied the whole thing. I could have got in there with a hammer and tapped it out a bit more, I suppose. Probably should have. But anyway. But I'm not worried about this point here at the moment. See? You can't make this panel meet that. You've got to make this piece meet the outer piece. Like the shape's got to be right. When you get that right, and then you can bring this edge out to meet it. And as well as looking at it, feel it with your hand. Your hand will show up like there's a low in there. See, when I first ran over it, it felt like there was a high, but it's not. A little bit of a high just in there actually, but there's a low in that, so I have to go over that a bit more. And anyway, we'll keep it at that. I just wanted to point that out, that I'm doing this in stages, and so this is the first stage, getting it the right shape. I'm not concerned about it being smooth. I'm not concerned about deep gouges I'm putting in it with a 40 grade. I'm not concerned about pinholes which are air bubbles in your putty. Not concerned with any of that right now. Okay, that's the next stage. And then after that stage, as I said, I'll fill in all these scratches and holes. I'll rub that with an 80. Excuse me. Dust. Now, because I'm going to be putting a 2-pack primer over it. Now, the thing with 2-pack is once it's set, it's set. It doesn't alter. It doesn't sink back in the hole, rearrange, soften, doesn't do any of that. So you can fill with it, and you can fill all your minor discrepancies that you can't get out with your 80 grit and your sandy. You're always going to get little bits of unevenness, and that's what you fill with a primer. But don't attempt to do that with an acrylic primer. And this is the whole reason I stopped using acrylic primer. I stopped using it 20 years ago, because acrylic primer, if you try and fill anything with it, you'll get it all nice and smooth, and as soon as you're trying to paint over it, the thinners will soften the acrylic primer, and it'll just go back to the shape that's underneath it. And so you get what you call sink back. All your discrepancies are going to come to the surface, and that'll come to the surface in your top coat. So if you're going to use acrylic primer, you basically need to get it pretty close to perfect before you even put the acrylic primer on. You've got to, you can probably get away with 180. I'd want to go 240, 320 even, smooth if you're going to use acrylic primer, because like even 180 You get away with that if you're putting a solid colour on it, which is what I'm doing in the area, but as I said, I'm not using acrylic primer anyway, but you know, if you were going to go to a metallic or anything, even 180 scratches will reappear in your top coat. Like 180 scratches in the putty underneath your primer will reappear in your top coat. So, as I said, yeah, I just don't use acrylic primer. The only time I use acrylic primer, actually, like say, you know, I've two-packed it, I put guide coat all over it, wet rubbed it, you know, with the 400, and I rub through in a few places, you know, especially if you rub through in the bog. Well, then I'll get a bit of spray can acrylic primer. That's sort of handy to have, just to spray over rub through bits, but that's about the only time I'd use it, I think, in a situation like this anyway. But yeah, that probably won't be happening anyway because I don't have any. So the issue you get with, you know, if you rub through your primer and expose your bog's porous, and then when you go to put your paint on, it'll soak into the bog area where, and you know, not the primer that's around the rub through. So you'll get this change in texture. It'll show up where you've rubbed it through, so you need to cover it again. So yeah, I probably will get a can of acrylic primer just for that purpose, just a spray can. So, all right. Okay, well, I think I've covered it all. As I said, I just wanted to, you know, make it clear what I'm doing, and that I'm doing it in stages. And yeah, I'm nowhere near being at the finished stage. See, I'll get the whole thing when I've got the whole thing done, guards, everything to the shape. Well, then I'll start going over it and yeah, getting it smooth and ready for primer. All right, leave it at that. I hope I've yeah, clarified things a little bit. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.